Om Vang me manasi pratisthita mano me vachi pratishthitam aviravirma edhi vedasyama anistha shrutam me ma prahasihi anena dhitena horatran samdadhami ritam vadishyami satyam vadishyami tanmamavatu tadvaktaramavatu avatu mam avatu vaktaram avatu vaktaram. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So we stopped at number 19. Ano gahi sakhiye bhik shive bhik mahan mahi bhik uti bhik saranyan asme raim bahulam samtarutram suvacham bhagam yashasam kridhinah. Come to us in a rapid approach with thy happy befriendings, mighty, come with thy mighty protectings. In us the abundance of the delivering reaches. For us our glorious high worded portion create. It's interesting how Sri Aurobindo is using language also. We learn always something new, like protectings, befriendings. You see, the grammar does not permit anymore this usage. And many more interesting ways of create. He puts create at the end as it is in the text, kridhinah. So it's not typical for English. You have to put create in us, yes, abundance. But in us abundance and of delivering reaches, for us our glorious high worded portion create. It has this positioning of the word has its own power. So my interpretation, come to us with your blissful surroundings. Sakhiye bhik shive bhik. Shiva is usually blissful or auspicious. Sakhya is friendly. From Sakha. Sakha is friend, literally the one who shares the same space. With your, that's why I translate it, with your blissful surroundings, with your blissful contexts. Can you imagine? Many blissful contexts the fire can create, many blissful circumstances, relations. Mahan and great, mahibhi utibhi, with great utis, with, I translate great with great ones, mahan mahibhi, and then rushing saranyan with growing extensions, utibhi. Now I am translating growing extensions instead of protectings. Uti is protection, help, but it is from root u. From here we have avatumam, yes? It's a kindred root to u as an extension, as an occupation of space by the spiritual presence of the deity. So with your growing occupation and presence, yes, and by those extensions and presence, it becomes a protection. Interestingly, if you think about protection, I thought recently, when we are totally protected, it is when we don't have a gap within us. When everything is already occupied by the presence, and there is no gap. The moment there is a gap, a crack, and kind of a place which does not fit for the presence, the moment we have that gap, we are unprotected. Through that gap, a new force can enter and enlarge its presence. And this is usually what happens. Exactly this, psychologically. You feel the crack, you feel the gap, you feel some empty spot which is not occupied by the divine presence or by what you want to be. And that generates another energy and invites another force. And then it turns you into just the opposite. And that other force, which was your protection, is diminishing. And through this crack, another force is taking over. And then you are under that influence. So uti is an interesting word. Help, protection, from root u, to grow and firmly occupy the inner space. So this growth, also growth is important. It's not enough to be totally occupying the space. It has to have the potential of growth. It needs to be dynamically strengthening itself. Yes, Kinshuk.
Vladimir, I was thinking of this in the context of mental space. So, if we have here, gap would mean something like a doubt or something like a questioning doubt. And
Yeah,
if we have a highest possible conception of the thing that would fill all our doubts, that would be a kind of protection in the mental sense, is it not?
absolutely. Very nice. This is in the mental context. In the vital context, it
Yes.
is the presence, yeah, the energy field, which is not altered by any other force. And whenever Mother and Sri Aurobindo speak about the protection and the attacks of these forces, they are usually creating a gap. They have the gap within us is hiding somewhere, that crack, that small disagreement or small expectation for other force is like a traitor within us who is not visible immediately. It's hiding behind somewhere. And then when the moment comes, it suddenly wakes up and opens the door. It can be a very small opening, insignificant, but when the force presses from outside, then this traitor wakes up and becomes active, and here you have it. I faced this all my life. I never kind of articulated it totally this way, but it is exactly this. And there are some deeper roots in the subconscious and inconscient, which also have to be dealt with, but in the later stage of yoga. And those roots have to be uprooted, and the vacant space offered to the divine presence. We didn't do that yet work. And so these traitors will grow like the weed all the time. You have to always clean yourself from their presence, which is making the yoga is so difficult. Is exactly this, that we are rooted in the subconscious. We inherited our body from the animal kingdom, and nature manages animal kingdom by the subconscious instincts, powers. Yes, but we are mental beings. So it doesn't fit us totally. It fits us only partially. And there is a constant conflict between the two.
What about the space of emptiness in the mind, like how the example that Kinshuk gave like so
He
when
didn't,
like
yes, it wasn't emptiness as I understood. It was a doubt. It was a friction. It was something which was not fitting into the major kind of understanding. And that
uh,
doubt is the entry.
yeah, so when we are talking about space, like sometimes it could also be a positive space, like how the Buddhists, like sometimes without the presence, they just make their minds empty. And so, in that context, can we see another side of this or something like that, like where the space could be positive?
Right. Why not? Well, Kinshuk, would you like to develop your thought?
Well, an emptiness would imply a, an absence of conception. Uh, I'm not sure how that equates to a fullness of conception.
Oh, I was just talking about space, like how Mother talks about even a state of blankness, so that like making ourselves like absolutely kind of blank or empty, like so that when a higher thing comes or something, but even at that passive state, I guess anything might happen. But I guess it's a slight variation in the consciousness where there is that opening towards a hostile force compared to a opening, I'm not sure how, compared to a opening or passivity towards that higher force, or even negating all our thoughts, like rejecting all the thoughts, in which the mind becomes a space of absolute silence or emptiness.
I think you have to be in a very high state of consciousness to be in that gap. Then one can relate to the higher consciousness. Otherwise, if you're not in that, then doubt and everything can creep in. So one has to be in a very high state of consciousness, according to me, at least.
It's interesting. I never thought of that other way around. I thought always of the higher state of consciousness, which is altered by the lower, by the crack, which is the kind of moving us away from our right position or right direction. But there can be also wrong place, yes, in which you are totally, and the gap will become the entry for the better, for the higher consciousness, and will remove the lower consciousness slowly. Also possible. So gap plays kind of both ways, yeah? You can be totally possessed by the demon, so to say, or you can have a crack which will alter the state of being possessed by some higher. Even, as Mother says, some criminals, in one moment of time, suddenly they cannot do any more what they did. And one glimpse of the truth changes their behavior totally. Yeah? And they cannot kill the person, and they start protecting the person against his own, comrades in criminals. So he was in their own kind of, and now he's fighting against his own criminals to protect the person they had to kill, because there was a spark of the divine, or the psychic flame came forward, saying that this is all wrong. And then he cannot resist, so it starts occupying his space, freeing him from being possessed. So I think it is, in general, the whole idea of being protected by particular force is being occupied by that force. Yeah? And every gap generates the introduction of another force. By the way, this gap, since we started to speak about this, it's an interesting thing. It's antariksha. Antariksha is that crack between heaven and earth, yes, and this on the level of the navel. And through that crack, all the forces from above and from below enter. They all enter and fight here, the armies of light and the armies of darkness. They fight for this soul as costly prize, Sri Aurobindo says. So they want to possess us, because thus they are actualized in manifestation. And there are too many different types of forces. So we have to choose what we are to be. And here in this case, with your great feelings, with your growing extensions, growing extensions as protections, come to us. If fire is flaming through, occupying the whole inner space, we have total protection. There will be no force which can possess us anymore. We will become that beacon of truth, or the flame in which all the darkness burns. We change the darkness into light. And this is what Rishi wants. Come to us with your blissful consequences, with your blissful surroundings, with your blissful spaces. Spaces means that not only within ourselves, but also without and within and innermost spaces occupied by the divine presence, with your most blissful Shivebih, Sakhiyebih, you who are great, with your greatnesses, with your great forces, with your great feelings, rush to us, Saranyan. Sri Aurobindo says, in a rapid approach. Don't delay. Don't go slow with us. Come faster. Asme Rayim Bahulam Samtarutram. In us create a manifold shining wealth that could carry us to the beyond. Samtarutram. Interesting word. From root 3 to cross beyond. Tarutra is that which is causing this crossing beyond, and Samtarutra, causing this crossing beyond totally, absolutely, in every way, from every side. Every bit of ourselves has to find its divine prototype, its divine purpose, place, meaning, being. Everything here is the divine, but it has to find its divine origin, divine meaning. Bahulam Raim, the shining wealth. Usually this is the imagery of, or the symbol of the realization. Realization in the physical, vital and mental being. This shining wealth, manifold Bahulam. Asme, in us. This is Vedic locative, and we will have asmin, tasmin, you remember those who study Sanskrit with me. This is asme, that e like nare, Vedic locative. In us, the manifold shining realization, which totally brings us beyond to the divine. Suvacham, perfect expression, bhagam, the portion of delight, yashasam, glorious, kridhinach, make for us. and in us create a manifold shining wealth that could carry us to the beyond and the glory full of bliss. Bhagam Yashasam, and the perfect expression of consciousness, Suvacham, create in us, Asme Kridhi, Nach. You see, when we take even one verse, there is such an absolute number of all possible relations. If we start unfolding them, we will see that basically everything is said in one verse. Each verse saying everything, every time. This is something amazing if we will start applying this approach of presupposition. Why Rishi says what he says. What does he mean to say rather than what he says? Because when we translate words, it's not really very clear. Suvacham, what is Suvacham? The good word, you can translate it like good word, or even like oratory skills. Yeah. So then what? It's not that. It is a perfect expression of consciousness. So we need to find a deeper meaning behind the meaning superficial. Okay. Etate Agni Janima Sanani Prapurviyaya Nutanani Vocham Mahanti Vrishne Savana Kritema Janman Janman Nihito Jata Veda. Such a beautiful diction. Incredible, simple words. No complications, but profound meaning. Etani Janimani Sanani. This is all of Eta is Etani. Vedic neuter. Ni is dropped very often. Janimani, also Vedic neuter. Ni is dropped, like Palani, yes? It's for Sanskrit people I'm saying this, those who study Sanskrit with me. So, etani te, yours, or Agni Janimani, Janmani, literally, your births, these births of yours, Sanani, Sanani, ni is visible, eternal births of fire, these are thy eternal births, which I have declared to thee, vocham, avocham, this is aorist without augment, pra avocham, I declared forward. When this is with pra, root vach, it's always a declare, kind of declared, speak forward, literally. Nutanani, and nutanas, and modern ones, or the ancient births and the new ones, nutanani. To you, Purviyaya, to you who is ancient, who is from the beginning of time, to you who is the ancient one, I declared, or I pronounced, the ancient or the eternal and new births. What does it mean? We will have to think what it could mean. Mahanti, Savanani, Kritani Imani. Oh, can you imagine? Everywhere this. And great oblations or offerings, Savanani, of extraction of soma, and offering of our delight of existence. Made, these made by us offerings in great number. Great are the offerings of the wine we have made to the Mighty One, Krishna. Yeah. An interesting phrase, Janman Janman Nihito Jata Veda. For Jata Vedas, the knower, Sri Aurobindo says, he is the knower of all births set within, in birth and birth. This typical Sanskrit syntax, like and in birth and birth, this Janman Janman. Janman here is the Vedic locative. It should be Janmani Janmani, like Maruti Maruti for Sanskrit people. So, but here Janman Janman without E. This is Vedic locative. In birth and birth. By the way, you remember this type of syntax Sri Aurobindo uses in Savitri. In body and body lit the supreme flame. In body and body. This is kind of, he took it from Vedic Sanskrit. It's not typical for English. So in birth and birth he is established within Nihitach Jata Vedach, the one who knows every birth. Okay, my interpretation, Agni, these are your ancient and eternal births, and the new ones, for the ancient one that I have declared. Interesting new thought comes to me with this translation or interpretation. So I have declared the eternal births of flame divine and new ones, new births, but I declared it for the ancient one, for the original flame. Why? Why do I have to declare it? Doesn't he know that it is him? He knows that it is him. But what is this declaration makes, really? Why it is needed? Some thoughts?
I have created, expressed, again.
Yes, expressed again. I brought to the surface. I manifested new births of the, and I declared it, I connect it to the original one. It is your flame, I acknowledge. It is from the beginning of time this movement takes place. We are in succession of this evolutionary process of unfolding of inner consciousness. Yeah? Sorry. And this great savanani, the interesting savanam, it's from Rutsu, the pressings of Soma, the extraction of the delight of existence. Extraction and distilling, purifying of this delight made by us. Many of them we offer to the Lord. We offer the delight of existence to the Lord. In birth and birth, he is established, the one who knows all the births. And this in birth and birth does not have to have a meaning of reincarnation only. Yeah? It can be any birth in this lifetime. There are many births. There are new becomings. And then he continues, Janman Janman Nihito Jata Veda. He picks up the last phrase, Janman Janman Nihito Jata Veda. And it continues in the next word. Janman Janman Nihito Jata Veda. Vishvamitrebhih idhyate ajasarach. Tasya vayam sumato yajniyasya apibhadre saumanase siyama. The knower of all births sat within birth and birth is kindled by Vishvamitra, an unceasing flame. In the true thinking of this Lord of sacrifice, in happy right-mindedness, may we abide. We spoke about Sumati. He is the Sumati. He is the perfect mentality, which is on the par with supermind. It is something which generates a new world from the call and the answer. In birth and birth, the knower of all who are born in the body is established deeply within. The Eternal One is kindled by Vishvamitra. May we be a part of his perfect thought, of the one who is of the sacrifice, in his blissful and superior mentality. The one who is of the sacrifice. This is the typical translation by Sri Aurobindo. I'm kind of applying it here. The Lord of the sacrifice, he says here. But the one who is of the sacrifice, it is his very nature, to make everything sacred, to turn every vulgar appearance and misplacement into the right divine position, to transform it into the divine prototype. So by Vishvamitra he was kindled, the one the Eternal One. Who cannot be exhausted. In his Sumati, in his Sumati locative, in his perfect mentality, and in his perfect mental thinking, Saumanase Bhadre, which is blissful, full of bliss and joy, may we stay, be Syama. Imam yajñam sahasavan tuvanno devatra dehi sukrator prayamsi hotor brhatih ishono Agni mahidravinam ayajasva. O forceful God, O strong will, establish this sacrifice of ours in the gods, and take in it thy delight. O priest of the call, extend to us the vast impulsions of fire, bring to us by sacrifice the great treasure. Again, in one verse, everything. If you think of it, you will see that the whole vision of the spiritual life is put here. Almighty perfect power, Sahasavan, established this sacrifice in the Godheads, Devatra. Notice tra suffix, like kutra, tatra, yatra for Sanskrit people. Devatra, among the gods. in the gods. It's avyaya, indeclinable. So this sacrifice, Imam Yajñam, O Sahasavan, O powerful one, you, our sacrifice, Nach, our sacrifice, you, Tvam, Devatra Dehi, established among the gods, Sukrato, O you who strong will, who possesses the perfect will, Rarana, enjoying, rejoicing, or even granting. Shapindo translates here, take in it thy delight, rejoicing. Well, it could be translated also there, grant and bestow, yes. Or granting, from rutra, to grant, and to rejoice. He translates it from raich, not from ra. Interesting. Which says it's a kindred root. Prayam sihotar brihati ishonach. So, and priest of the call, extend to us the vast impulsions. Brihatich ishach. Vast aspirations, or even impulsions, like inspirations, impulses to the truth established in us, which are aiming at the vast realizations. You, the summoner of the gods, O Agni, Mahidravinam, great wealth, Ayajasva, bring, or sacrifice, bring to us by sacrifice the great treasure. That's how Sri Aurobindo translates. I interpret it a bit differently. Let's look into it. Almighty perfect power, Sahasavan, establish this sacrifice in the Godheads and rejoice. O summoner of the gods, Hotar, grant and bestow upon us the high and vast aspirations. Prayamsi, root yam, yachati, to give, and also yam is to fashion and to fast, to connect, to make part of, yeah? So it is all that. And Sri Aurobindo also extend, Sri Aurobindo says, extend onto us the vast impulsions. Prayamsi literally extend forward these great impulsions, O Hotar. These great impulsions which he brings with him, extend them forward. Do not let them fade away. O Agni, Agni, sacrifice for yourself, Yajasva, with extension unto us. Is upon, until us. Yeah? The vast wealth of transforming and divinizing movement, Dravinam. Dravinam is a very interesting concept in the Veda, constantly used. Nearly in every second verse and every second hymn you will find Dravinam. Dravinam ichamana, wanting Dravinam. Dravinam bhikshumana, begging. Bhikshamana, begging the Dravina. What is this Dravina? Interesting. Sri Aurobindo translates as great treasure, Mahidravinam. But it is from root dhru, to flow. And if you look into the dictionary, you will see movable property. Not static, but movable, dynamic. As opposite to a house or a field, something which is immobile. So to say, everything which can be taken, like property which you can take, like clothes, money, wealth, which you can take with you. It has also the meaning of substance and goods in general, wealth, money, essence, strength, power. I think it has something to do with this capacity to endure in time, yes? Some quality or substantial change in the being which can grow in time and accumulate more wealth into itself. Dravinam, it looks like this is the final aim of the Vedic rishis. It is transformed substance. Substance which can carry the dynamism of the spirit. So, and the last verse, and here I will stop. Ilam Agni Purudam Samsanim Goh Shashvatamam Havamanaya Sadha Syanach Sunuh Tanayo Vijava Agne Sate Sumatich Bhutu Asme. Again Sumati at the end. O fire, achieve at my call the revealing speech. Interesting. Achieve at my call the revealing speech. The many-actioned, the lasting conquest of the light. May there be for us a son of our begetting, pervading in his birth, or himself a begetter, the one who can continue in time, the generations upon generations. O fire, may there be created in us that true thinking of thine. Ila. Ila he translates here as revealing speech. You know, Sri Aurobindo speaks about these three rivers, Ila, Saraswati, Mahi, and Ila is the revelation. Saraswati is inspiration, and Brihati is the vastness. These are three currents of the supermind. So, Purudamsam, interesting word, many-actioned. It could be also skilled in many ways, acting in many different directions with a skillful divine action. So, Ilam Agne Purudansam Sanim, ancient Goh of the light, succeed in revealing the power of your light for the one who aspires. Avamanaya. O Agni, the power of manifold action, Purudansam, eternal Sanim, effectuating realization. Sadha. Basically, sadha is from sadhana, from root sadh, to lead to the goal, to succeed. Succeed, literally. The command is coming to flame, succeed. Yes? For Havamana. Havamana is the one who invokes or who offers. For the one who offers, for the one who calls you, succeed. Or, literally, lead him to the goal, to your goal. Sri Aurobindo says, achieve. Achieve at my call, Havamanaya. Achieve for the one who calls. Realize for him the revealing speech. The highest revelation of the supramental current or force, Shakti, which acts in many directions. Purudansam, more skillful to act in many directions, which is eternal, Sanim, lasting, the lasting conquest. Root San is also to obtain, to conquer, to realize. Shashvatamam, eternal, or the most enduring, the lasting conquest. This is what is the lasting Shashvatamam, the most lasting, Sanhim, the conquest of the light, Goh. And Goh here is genitive case. Siam nach Sunuch may be for us Sunu, the son, Tanayach, enduring in generations in the future, Bijava, pervading in his births, or Agni, Sate Sumatich, and that Sumati, that perfect thought, Bhutu Asme, should be in us. May your superior mind be always within us. Succeed in revealing the power of your light for the one who aspires, O Agni, the power of manifold action, eternal, effectuating realization. May there be the sun for us, for our continuation. May your superior mind be always within us. So this is the whole hymn. I will stop here, and if you have some questions, observations, please go ahead. Rishis tirelessly speak about this. Yeah? They're not tired to go on and on, because the presence is there, so they cannot really, they are not speaking. Yeah? They are expressing the presence.
Gapless verses.
Gapless verses, yeah, no gap. Right. Absolutely. According to Sri Aurobindo, if we stay in that gapless state for 9 months, we will realize the divine. We will be born into a new quality. But who can stay 9 months in gapless state? Even 5 minutes to stay is kind of tough.
It occurred to me, Vladimir, in the description, I forget, what the verse was, but this state of surrender, that when we're in that state of surrender, there's also simultaneously a state of gratitude. It seems like they go together. If you're in that state, you're also in a state of sublime gratitude in offering yourself to the divine.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, this is grace. Grace is reflected through your consciousness, and that is gratitude. Interesting that they're connected, these words. Yeah.
The last line, I think it was of the second verse, that Jata Vedas knows the essence of all birth, something along those lines. I think that's such a beautiful, reassuring statement, that there's nothing out of order. Everything is actually perfect.
Yeah. So you don't offer yourself to someone who doesn't know anything, yeah? Or partially knows what you have to do. He knows exactly, essentially, quintessentially where you are from and where you are heading at.
And I was also a related thought to that. I was thinking that when we position ourselves in that state, that is the only condition in which we feel a sense of freedom. When we offer ourselves to the divine and we reside in that state, then we feel free. Any other time, any other state of mind, we're causing consequences which then bind us. So it is only when we position ourselves in that internal perfect state that we actually experience true freedom.
And then we are ourselves. And only then freedom means to be yourself. Every other time we are trapped, one way or another. It can be very kind of a golden cage and so on, but it is still entrapment.
Vladimir, I was also thinking of Jatved. I used to think of Jatved as the knower of all my births, but that's not actually correct. It means knower of all births of all human beings or whatever,
Right,
and in the seed form. So I just realized that today.
right.
This my thinking was not okay.
Well, it is also like this, what you said. It's knowing also all your births. And since you're concerned with yourself, so then it becomes important for you and for every one of us. It is for all of us the same. Yes, he knows all my births and all your births. So it is the same Jata Vedas. And interesting, Jata means it's participle perfect passive voice, which means born. He knows all who are born. This is important, yeah? Because he deals with those who are embodied, thus means those psychic beings, those antaryamins, all those sparks which came into the play. He knows them. He doesn't need to know all those who are beyond, somewhere in this, transcendental. He knows these who are in the journey, who are in the evolution of consciousness. He knows them and knows what to do with them. Our souls, he knows our souls.
Vladimir, can I think of this as he knows all the Karan Sharits? That means he knows the seed, causal seed of all our being.
Oh yeah, well, that's more connected to the Sukshma Sharira, or yes, in a way, yes. Yes, he knows all the circumstances which are the most suitable for our development. Yes, exactly. But he knows also our intentions, our souls, why we're here, what we are looking for, or what we want to realize. We all want to realize many different things to fulfill our journey and to get the elements necessary for our fulfillment. So everyone is looking for something else. You have to have this experience, that experience, and that's why we are in different positions. But if fundamentally we are looking for the divine realization, but to collect all the elements for this fulfillment, we need to undergo certain journey. So he knows what is needed for us. He will not give us something which is not needed today, or will be needed tomorrow. He will not give today, because he knows. This is the important thing. And that's why everything makes sense. In time, we are evolving in time. in time our lives make sense. It's amazing. Yeah? They are, day after day, they are not disconnected. They are somehow connected to the same journey. He is, because Selby is here with her Christian studies, he is the only Son of God, the one who is in the heart of every man, who is the flame. That's what Jesus meant when he said, I am the only Son of God, and only through me you can come to my Father. You will find the same imagery in the Veda, actually. It's very close to Christianity, especially with the flame. Many people notice this.
I'm constantly, I almost can't talk because I'm so overwhelmed with the Veda in the Bible now that I'm understanding the Veda more. Because all of these images that come through here pervade the New Testament. The wine of the sacrifice, which Jesus said, this is my blood, and the sun, all of it. And I'm just like, so I know the Bible inside and out, but all of a sudden it's a completely different motion picture in front of me. So it's hard for me to even comment, but yes, I'm totally overwhelmed with how the Bible is really the Veda.
Interesting. I never thought of wine as blood of Christ, but this is exactly what it means, actually. Yes, that soma, that very soma, and even the bread as the dravina, as something which is substantial, kind of realization in the substance, in the physical, which supports and feeds the manifestation of the divine. So never thought of these. Thank you for mentioning the wine. It's very appropriate place to mention, actually.
Sorry. I would like to know something about your thoughts on the Holy Ghost. Where does that tie up, actually?
You mean to the Veda?
No, no.
To our,
Where does the Holy Ghost of the Bible tie up to what we
this
are
is
saying?
Brahman, totally Brahman, Shakti, Paraprakriti, Aparaprakriti. This is the mother. That's absolutely clear to me. They don't mention the mother. There is only Mary, and that's basically later, of course, in Orthodox and Greeks, we will find her more than in Catholicism. But still, the mother is, that's what she is. This is the Holy Ghost. The Son, the Father, and the Spirit.
I think also I have heard that in Hebrew, the word for spirit is feminine.
Hmm. You mean for Holy Ghost? Yeah?
Spirit, yeah, it's not called the Holy Ghost in the Old Testament, but it's called the Spirit. Like in Genesis, the Spirit was over the waters in creation, and I that it's feminine.
We have to check. I don't know the word. Do you remember the word in Hebrew?
Ruha, something like that. I'm not sure. I just have heard that in studies. I just also want to mention that the Catholic Mass is the representation of a sacrifice daily that people witness, and that has such a different meaning for me now.
Yeah, absolutely. If you look at what Jesus did, sacrifice to himself, with the Father's request or command, let us say.
The Father's will.
Yes, and he was in turmoil, just how to give this, how to do this right. Yeah. And he was the whole thinking a bit the night before all these about this. how not to fail. It's very difficult to do, right? With Jesus, there are many interesting thoughts, because he was an accomplished yogi, let us say, and he could have done it without any problems for himself. He could switch off or go into samadhi, and that's all. Give his body to the sacrifice, and that's it. But he didn't, it seems. He really took it as a human being unto himself. So, and that is I think that is the greatest of the sacrifices. He really wanted to share the pain of the whole human race. He took it unto himself. Right. All right, we can stop here for today. And I will close with mantra. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinaha Sarve Santu Niramayaha Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschit Dukkha Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om.